My son relentlessly bullied his classmate, and my wife refuses to let him apologize because boys will be boys. Now, they are both paying the consequences. My wife was always the kind of woman who preached kindness and justice, always quick to condemn anyone who treated others poorly. We had a son, 14, before marriage, and we raised him with those values, or so I thought. That was until last month when I got the kind of phone call that makes your stomach drop. The school requested that both my wife and I come in immediately. They told us our son had been relentlessly tormenting a classmate for months, and not just name-calling bullying. It was calculated, cruel, and physical. The boy, 15, comes from a rough background. His father died in an accident when he was 6, and his mother overdosed 2 years ago. He's been living with his grandfather ever since, a man in his 70s, barely making ends meet on a fixed income. My son and his group of friends singled him out for that. They mocked him for his worn clothes, stole his school supplies, and pressured him for money he clearly didn't have. When he didn't comply, they escalated. They beat him, locked him in a janitor's closet, spread humiliating rumors about his family, and at one point, this one made me sick. They took the boy's old flip phone, smashed it, and laughed while he cried, telling him, "You should have died with your parents." When I walked into the office that day, I saw the boy sitting there, lips split, one eye swollen, his hands trembling. His grandfather was sitting beside him, clutching his arm, tears streaming down his face. That sight gutted me. I couldn't believe my own son had done that to another human being. The school suspended my son for 3 weeks out of school and made it clear that police involvement was likely. They also said Child Protective Services might be contacted, given the severity. My world spun. I asked my son directly, and without hesitation, he admitted to it all. But the way he said it, flat, indifferent, like it was some minor playground spat, horrified me even more. I grounded him immediately. No devices, no leaving the house unsupervised, no contact with friends. He was livid, but I didn't care. Actions have consequences. My wife, however, acted like I just sentenced him to life in prison for stealing a cookie. She told me I was being way too harsh, and that boys will be boys. When I reminded her of the boy's injuries, of the trauma, she shrugged and said, "Kids fight. He'll get over it." I snapped. I told her she was treating abuse like it was a silly playground scuffle. I asked her how she would feel if it were our son in that chair, bloodied and humiliated, and she had to look into the eyes of a grandfather who couldn't protect his grandson. Instead of listening, she called me names, told me I was dramatic, and accused me of trying to ruin our son's life. She refused to demand that our son apologize. She refused to acknowledge the suffering of the victim. Instead, she coddled our son, telling him I was over the top and that he should just stay out of my way. Within days, she packed bags and took our son to a friend's house. He cut me off entirely, convinced he was the victim in this situation. My wife demanded I apologize for yelling at her and for grounding our son so harshly. I couldn't believe it. That was the breaking point. I filed for divorce. I realized I couldn't be married to someone who looked at cruelty and shrugged. For years, she had built this image of being righteous and moral, and now, when it came down to her own child, she was willing to excuse anything. That hypocrisy shattered every ounce of respect I had for her. Update. The divorce went through quicker than I expected. My wife fought me at first, but the more she realized the evidence stacked against our son, police involvement, school reports, and witness statements, the weaker her arguments became. I got partial custody, though my son refuses to stay with me right now. Here's the kicker. Reality finally caught up with them. The boy's grandfather pressed charges, and my son now has a juvenile record. The court-mandated counseling forced him to confront his actions, and for the first time, I think he genuinely understood that he wasn't just roughhousing. He destroyed another kid's sense of safety. He caused lasting scars. My wife, meanwhile, spiraled. She called me crying a few weeks ago, saying she regretted not listening to me, that she just didn't want her baby to be painted as a monster. Now, she has to deal with the fact that her blind protection made him one. She admitted that the divorce broke her because she thought I'd never leave. And my son? He broke down during one of his mandated therapy sessions and admitted that the divorce was his fault. He realized his actions weren't just cruel to the boy he hurt, but also tore his own family apart. He's devastated, angry at himself, and for once, actually taking responsibility. Do I wish it hadn't come to this? Of course, but I don't regret leaving. I couldn't stay married to someone who looked a child in the face, bloodied, bruised, traumatized, and said, "He'll get over it."